There's a moment many men secretly long for after a breakup. That moment when the silence breaks. When her name suddenly lights up your phone. When her voice sounds warm, maybe even familiar again. And in that instant, your heart skips a beat. You think, maybe this is it. Maybe she's ready. Maybe we're finally finding our way back to what we lost. But pause. Because what feels like a breakthrough could actually be a test. Her return doesn't always mean reconciliation. Sometimes it means curiosity. Sometimes confusion. Or just the comfort of something familiar. And if you rush in too fast, if you treat this fragile moment like a green light, not a yellow one, you could lose the very thing you've been waiting so long for. This is where most men slip. Not because they didn't care, but because they cared too much, too fast, too soon. What you do now, it doesn't just matter. It defines everything that comes next. This isn't the time to pour your heart out. It's not the time to try and rebuild everything overnight. It's the time to be calm, deliberate, unshakable in who you've become. So in today's video, we're going to slow it all down and walk through exactly what to do when your ex comes back after no contact, no false hope, no desperate moves, just clarity, control, and the quiet confidence of a man who leads without chasing. If that's the kind of strength you're building, like this video, subscribe to Stoic Station, and let's begin. 1. Don't assume that your ex feels the same way you do. When she shows up again, when the late-night texts resume, when she laughs at your sarcasm like she used to, when she casually drops old nicknames into the conversation, it's easy to think the storm has passed. You want to believe that the door is reopening, that she's found her way back to the same place you've been waiting in all along. But familiarity is not clarity. Comfort is not commitment. And here's what most men fail to grasp. Your ex can show affection, flirt, even initiate contact with you, and still not be emotionally certain about what she wants. That's not because she's cruel or manipulative. It's because emotional habits are hard to break. The heart can return to what feels safe, even if the mind hasn't made a decision. She might not even realize she's sending mixed signals. It's not calculated, it's unconscious. For her, sharing a laugh or calling you babe might feel like second nature. But for you, those small gestures land like hope. They make you want to move closer, to believe this means something. And that's where it becomes dangerous, because if you start assigning meaning to every soft look, every message, every memory she resurrects, you risk moving faster than she's ready for. And when that happens, you'll feel the sting. You'll lean in, say something honest, open your heart just a little too soon, and then watch her freeze. Go quiet. Pull back. That silence, the one that follows the rush of connection, is brutal, because it's not rejection from a stranger. It's confusion from someone you still love. So here's the truth. You don't get clarity by chasing it. You don't get answers by assuming them. You get clarity by waiting long enough to let her show you, without rushing to fill in the blanks. Don't build castles on kindness. Don't mistake nostalgia for a renewed relationship. Don't confuse her reaching out with her being ready. Let her actions speak. But don't turn every gesture into a declaration. She's allowed to feel unsure, and you're allowed to stand still, observe, and respond with calm instead of urgency. Because real love doesn't return through assumption. It reveals itself through time, consistency, and clarity on both sides. 2. Take it slower than you'd like to. When she finally reaches out again, it feels like everything inside you wants to rush forward. You've spent weeks, maybe months, playing out that moment in your head, what you'd say, how it would feel, how she'd look at you. And now that it's here, your instinct is to close the distance, to fix what's broken, to pick up right where you left off. But that urgency, that need to make up for lost time, is exactly what can push her away again. Because while you may have used the silence to reflect, to rebuild, to prepare, she might still be sorting through her uncertainty. Emotionally, she's not in the same place. And if you're sprinting toward the future while she's still glancing back at the past, the imbalance will create tension. That's when her hesitation returns. That's when the second guessing creeps in. And that's when she pulls back, again. This is where restraint becomes strength. You have to let her set the pace. Not because she holds the power, but because your patience sends a powerful message that you are no longer desperate for the outcome, that you're not here to pressure her into clarity, that you've grown into someone who can sit in uncertainty without losing composure. You don't want to seem like you were sitting by the phone, waiting for her name to light up your screen, even if you were. That image doesn't inspire attraction. It triggers guilt, pity, or pressure. And none of those emotions rebuild connection. What pulls her closer is seeing that you've continued living, evolving, becoming, not for her, but because it's who you are now. There's nothing more magnetic than a man who is fully present without being emotionally dependent. And this isn't about playing games or pretending you don't care. It's about protecting your dignity. It's about creating space for her to feel safe again, safe to feel, to explore, to choose without being chased. The truth is, you're not trying to prove your worth, you're embodying it, and that doesn't require speed, it requires stillness. Let her see that you're not trying to pick up the pieces. You've already started building something new, with or without her. And ironically, that's often when she starts wanting to be a part of it. 3. Manage your own feelings. This is the part no one sees coming, not even you. Because on the surface, you're doing everything right. You're calm, you're composed, you're not blowing up her phone or begging for reassurance. But underneath that controlled exterior, something's shaking, and if you don't face it now, it will find a way to surface, usually at the worst possible moment. Most men think staying quiet about their pain is the same as handling it. But silence isn't always strength. Sometimes it's just fear wearing a mask. If you try to grit your teeth and suppress what you feel, that emotional pressure leaks out in small, subtle ways. The way your voice tightens, the edge in your responses, the awkward tension that suddenly fills the air when she says something innocent, but it hits a nerve you've buried. If you try to white-knuckle your way through this, she will feel it, even if you never say a word. And what she feels won't be love. It'll be discomfort, confusion, that unspoken energy that something's off. She won't be able to explain it, but she'll pull away from it, because emotional tension doesn't bring people closer, it makes them retreat. So don't wait until you explode. Deal with your emotional weight now, before it hijacks your presence. You don't have to bleed in front of her, but you do have to process it somewhere. Write the unspoken truths down, no matter how raw. Say the hard things out loud when you're alone. Talk to a friend who can hold space without judgment. Let it rise. Let it sting. Let it pass. Because running from your feelings doesn't make them disappear. It only forces them to come back louder, sharper, more destructive. And no matter how composed you think you are, unprocessed pain has a way of driving your decisions when you least expect it. You don't need to perform strength. You need to embody it. And real strength isn't cold or distant. It's clean, clear, rooted. When you've faced what's inside, you don't chase her out of fear. You don't cling for validation. You respond with clarity instead of reacting from chaos. And that emotional clarity, that's what changes everything, for you and for her. 4. Attract your ex. This isn't about winning her back with words, it's about making her feel something again. Not nostalgia, Not guilt, not obligation, but desire. That magnetic, quietly building tension that made her curious about you the first time. And if you want to reawaken that pull, it starts not with pressure or persuasion, but presence. You need to make your ex want you, not by explaining how much you've changed or pleading for another chance, but by showing up in a way that makes her wonder what she walked away from. This isn't about trying harder. It's about becoming quieter, more intentional, more rooted. It's about showing her the man you've become, not by announcement, but by embodiment. Start simple. Laughter, light conversations, moments that feel effortless. Remind her what it feels like to be around you without the weight of the past. Let her see that you're not chasing anything, that you're enjoying the connection in real time, not trying to fast forward it into a relationship. Let mystery do its job. You don't need to over-explain where you've been or what you've been through. That only makes her feel like she holds the power to approve or reject your transformation. Instead, be the man who's already living the next chapter, regardless of whether she chooses to step into it. Flirt, but don't cling. Offer warmth, but not explanation. Let her wonder. Not in a cruel way, but in a way that reminds her how she used to feel when she was trying to figure you out. When you hold that space, light-hearted, confident, a little unpredictable, you invite her curiosity back into the equation. That balance is where attraction lives, the comfort of who you were paired with the intrigue of who you've become. She needs to feel that you're not standing still, waiting. You're moving, growing, living. And ironically, the more you detach from needing her to see it, the more clearly she will. You're not here to win her back. You're here to become the kind of man who no longer has to. That's what she'll feel. That's what will change everything. 5. Address their concerns. She might be smiling when she sees you. She might even agree to meet up, laugh at your jokes, and talk like nothing ever happened. But don't be fooled. Behind all of that, there are unspoken questions running through her mind. She's not just reconnecting with you. She's observing, feeling you out, testing the air for signs that what broke you two before could break you again. Even if she hasn't voiced it, the doubts are there. What if nothing's changed? What if we try again and it ends the same way? These are not small thoughts. They're protective mechanisms, her way of making sure she doesn't walk blindly into the same pain, and you need to respect that fear without trying to talk her out of it. You can't erase the past. You can't undo what hurt her. But you can show her in quiet, consistent ways that the man standing in front of her today is not the same man who let things fall apart. Don't tell her how much you've grown. Show her. If you used to avoid conflict or shut down during emotional moments, let her see you stay open, present, grounded when something vulnerable comes up. If you once lacked drive, let her feel the steadiness in your voice when you talk about what you're building now. Let your actions speak on your behalf, because that's what she's watching. Not for perfection, not for a polished performance, but for truth, for subtle, embodied change. She's scanning for alignment between your words and your energy, between the man you say you are and the man you actually show up as. You don't need a speech. You don't need to relive the past. What you need is integrity, to walk through this reconnection with calm, consistent strength that doesn't flinch under pressure. And when she starts to feel that shift, when her concerns begin to dissolve, not because you convinced her, but because she experienced something different in you, that's when belief starts to return. That's when the walls soften. That's when she starts to imagine something new. And it all begins the moment you stop trying to explain and start quietly embodying everything she hoped you would become. Summary. When it's all said and done, there's one truth that most men miss in the moment. One that's easy to overlook when your ex finally comes back into your life. Just because she reached out doesn't mean the story is starting over. And just because she's showing interest again doesn't mean you get to slip back into who you were when it all fell apart. The truth is, her return doesn't guarantee anything, except the opportunity to show her that you're no longer standing in the same emotional place. This isn't about getting her back. It never really was. It's about becoming the kind of man who no longer has to chase, because he's already grounded, already full, already living with clarity and purpose. The kind of man who doesn't make his healing dependent on anyone else's return, who knows his worth, regardless of who recognizes it. When she comes back, let her feel the difference, not in the way you talk, but in the way you carry yourself, in your stillness, in your detachment, in the quiet confidence that says, "I've grown with or without you." That's what changes everything. Not desperation, not over-explanation, but transformation. Let her see it in your boundaries. Let her feel it in your tone. Let her sense it in your calm. Not the kind of calm that's waiting, but the kind that has already accepted whatever outcome may come. Because when a man no longer fears loss, he becomes deeply attractive, unshakable, free. The moment you stopped needing her back was the moment you became someone she could want again. But don't do it for her. Do it because that version of you, the man who stands tall whether she stays or walks, is the man you were always meant to become. And if this message stirred something real in you, subscribe to Stoic Station. Remember, the only comeback that matters is the one you made within yourself. The rest, that's just the world catching up.